So, is it that time in your life yet? Do you feel like your family is complete and you and your spouse want to not worry about changing that? Well, the decision can be difficult, but the recovery doesn't have to be. After your vasectomy, you gotta get testes. Doctors usually recommend a jockstrap and ice for your boys to help with comfort. Well, testes is the best of both worlds. This is for the man who is out on the go and needs to get things done. You get the ice packs from the freezer, strap up, and saddle up. The packs give you at least 20 minutes of comfort, even if you're just sitting around watching the game. And most important, guys, no wet spots. Put on the jockstrap under your briefs and go about your day. They come in 3 sizes, medium, large, and extra large to get your right fit. Now head on over to testes.com. That's TEST-EEZE.com. TEST-EEZE.com. Your wife is going to thank you for the snip, and your testes are going to be thanking me. Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host Sean McGahee, and this is a show where we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, Patreon, Spotify, Google Podcast, and now Amazon Music. That's right, you Amazonians. You can listen to us even on your Amazon product. But if you want to follow Dayspring Discussions, hit us up on the Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Hello, everyone. It is a windy day here in Austin, Texas. The sun is out for now. I heard, though, it's supposed to storm later, so we'll see how that goes. But it's all right, because the sun right now is shining inside and outside, because we are going to be talking about some great stuff on today's show. Now, of course, as I talked about yesterday, the Disney Investors Day presentation was on Thursday. A lot of good stuff from the wonderful world of Disney. I talked about the Marvel portion yesterday, and I posted that up, so if you want to listen to that, you can. Today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, but I cannot talk about Star Wars without the other half of my dyad in the forest, Miss Lisa Locke McGahee.
Hello.
All right, guys. So, of course, for those of you who are new to the show, I post stuff up on the Facebook group and Twitter account. So anything you're really interested in the world of geekdom, you guys can post stuff there too. We talk and discuss things. And then every once in a while, when something big comes up or something I really want to talk about, I'll hop on here and share my opinion. Of course, you guys fire back as well. This is one of those occasions. So, Lisa, you just want to dig right in and get to all the juice?
Let's go.
Well, guys, like I said, Thursday was a big day in the world of fandom. Disney had their big presentation and showed us all the stuff in the next coming years that they wanted to show not only their investors, but I think their fans as well. Just getting people excited about Disney.
Well, I think their investors probably are their fans.
Well,
too.
Of course, yes. If you invest in Disney, you probably are a fan, at least a little bit.
True.
So, but anyway, so they gave us a lot of good stuff, and I think everyone was looking forward to mainly the Star Wars presentation and the Marvel presentation. So let's focus on Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy came out and gave us a whole bunch of stuff that is coming in the Star Wars galaxy. I'm going to start at the top here. I have the Lucasfilm website, StarWars.com, the whole article kind of about what they're coming out with and details I can reference to go from there. But let's start off with the movie, shall we? So the big one we got was that Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins is going to be directing a Star Wars movie titled Rogue Squadron. Now, she says this is kind of inspired by her father, who was a fighter pilot, and kind of an homage to him, something she's really wanted to do for a while now. And this is going to be our next Star Wars film that's coming out in theaters in 2023. They had that great promotion in there where she's rollerblading, onto an airstrip, and then she changes into a
suit.
flight suit, puts on the helmet, and then walks away. And it was as a fellow Star Wars and rollerblader enthusiast, I loved it. So, but anyway, like I said, it comes out 2023. We still don't know what era it's going to come out. I mean, I think there was a line that maybe hinted it was past episode 9, but really Rogue Squadron, when you think of Rogue Squadron as a Star Wars fan, you think about Luke and Wedge and all those guys. So for me, I don't know, that's what I think of, but I think it would be a little harder to do it in that terms, because then you'd have to, what about Luke? What about Wedge? All that stuff. But first off, general impressions on Rogue Squadron, Lisa.
Obviously I'm always excited, for a spin-off, any kind of Star Wars movie. But I have generally recently liked the non-trilogy films better. I really love Rogue One. We both really liked Solo. So, I'm excited about one that's not necessarily an anthology film. But I am still a little confused because, I think we're supposed to be confused, obviously. This was just like a teaser of a teaser of a teaser. It wasn't even anything. But
more like an announcement.
Yeah, it's just an announcement, right. But, I don't really know. I think once we know more about where it's going to fall in the timeline, the type of characters that are going to be involved, then there's no point getting excited right now. It's not coming for 3 years. 3 years,
but yes, it is the next Star Wars film where you get it in theaters.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I will get excited as it gets closer, but right now that doesn't do any good to be excited. I don't know anything about it. I'm excited about Patty Jenkins coming on to do it. I think it'll be good. I do feel like her little thing did make it sound like it was coming after episode 9. Like it was something at the end in timeline. So in that case, I don't know. I don't even know what to think. I don't know what to think about it.
For me, what I would love to see, kind of, as far as where it falls in the timeline, is after episode 6, after Return of the Jedi. Because I know in Aftermath, we've got a little bit with, Wedge and, some of the pilots and stuff like that. But, I think it'd be a good way to, again, put that character in there and Rogue Squadron and maybe how he leads them. But also kind of take Luke out of the equation, because Luke is off, doing Jedi stuff, after episode 6. So you can have Rogue Squadron, Wedge, Dennis Lawson played him in the original trilogy and in episode 9, but he's not a big enough character where, you can recast Wedge. I don't think it's harder to recast, Luke. In a future film. So
that's why honestly, I really think from what they said, they really made it sound like it was going to be after, which means none of those characters are going to be in it.
Yeah, maybe we'll get
it'll be like a new.
Yeah, maybe we'll see Poe. New. Poe might be in there.
But Poe has his own squadron. It's not Rogue Squadron.
Well, things change. Obviously, episode 9, things change. Maybe he forms a new Rogue Squadron after the events of The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's my point. There's no point in speculating. We have literally zero idea.
Here we go. If you don't want to speculate, then we might as well just stop talking right now. But here's my thought too. I thought, with Patty Jenkins doing Rogue Squadron. Here's what I think happened was Disney, not Lucasfilm, Disney went to Patty Jenkins and be like, hey, what kind of movie do you want to make? And she's like, had this passion project, about a fighter pilot or, a pilot. And we're like, Disney's like, we can fit that into Star Wars, So that's how I imagine something like that went down. But that's coming out 2023. It's our next one. Again, I'm a little... I don't want to say surprised, disappointed, because I'm really not that it's, the next one we get is not going to start a trilogy, They didn't announce a trilogy, I guess is what it was. I don't know. The next one on their plate that they talked about, the only other Star Wars film they talked about was the Taika Waititi one. Whether that starts a trilogy or not, we don't know. But like you said, they're doing more, seems like they're going more standalone at this point.
At this point, the last trilogy they did completed that story. They would have to, if they were going to start a new trilogy, it would have to be something completely new. I think if they're going to do a trilogy, it needs to go way back to the Old Republic, or there's not, you know what I mean, because the trilogy, the saga is done. It's run its course.
Yeah.
And the last 3, were mixed reviews. So I think right now the way to go until they really come up with a really good and that's not to say they're not going to announce something else.
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe in a year somebody comes up with a amazing idea to start a new saga, with some new characters that they think will really bring a new following, like A New Hope did. Maybe they'll do another trilogy, but for now, this is what they have. But like I said, doesn't mean that there's not other things that are going to pop in.
Yeah, I'm assuming, yeah.
I mean, at this point, they need to wait for the right story. They don't need to rush something. Like, if they don't have the right story, don't do it, because we saw how that happened before. So let's do some good movies right now with some good directors. Do something with Patty Jenkins. Do something good with Taika Waititi. Yeah. Let's do some good stories.
If you have a good story, do a good story. Don't try to force something, I guess, and like I said, the other film they talked about was Taika Waititi. No real specifics about it. Kathleen Kennedy said, quote, Taika's approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. It's Taika Waititi, of course. It would be that. His enormous talent and sense of humor will ensure that audiences are in for an unforgettable ride. What do you take away from that, Lisa?
It's going to be something, I think it'll be something completely unlike anything we've ever seen.
The logo they chose for, when they're talked about him, just seems kind of zany.
Yeah, I mean, that's how he is. But, I mean, I think that's a good thing, and this is something else that came up a few times during the investor meeting with when Kathleen Kennedy was talking is, Star Wars is really trying to diversify. They're trying to create, different, still using the Star Wars universe, but making different types of things, different types of stories, different types of medium, so they can reach more people. Not everybody wants to see a feature film, not everybody has different interests, so maybe this is going to be something that they think might reach a different crowd. The hardcore fans are going to see it all, but these might be ways for them to branch out into some other. I mean, I think Taika Waititi, it definitely could appeal to a different group of people.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, one thing, when they gave the slate of all this new Star Wars stuff coming out, I was looking at it. It's pretty diverse as far as you do have some, Jedi Force stuff in there, but then you also have, fighter pilots. Then you also have, the Lando stuff in there. It's one thing that Marvel Studios has done is, yes, everyone's in the MCU, but they're all different kind of stories where, Captain America has been more like thriller spy. Ant-Man's been more heist. Guardians has been more zany galactic, taking that same universe, but then telling different types of stories of almost different genres.
Well, and that's one thing that they can do if you get away from the anthology films. In an anthology, you can't really do that. That's why, that's one of the biggest issues we had, with the other ones, with each different director putting their own spin on it. It made it feel disjointed. Where with this, if you do just a bunch of different separate, one-offs, then they can have their own feel because they're not connected necessarily. They don't have to have the same, feeling. It's like when you look at Marvel, Thor Ragnarok works in its weird, zany way that it is, because it doesn't have to feel like Captain America First Avenger.
Right.
Because that doesn't matter. The fact that they're different is what makes them appealing to different people.
Yeah, I totally agree about that. Yeah, again, it's reaching the biggest audience possible, diversifying, and that's how you make the money.
Yeah.
So
this does look like Schoolhouse Rock, though, 100%.
It's Schoolhouse
Rock.
This
Taika Waititi Star Wars logo.
Some people were talking as well, kind of before we finish off in films. Still no word yet about any Rian Johnson project. They haven't denounced it yet. I mean, obviously they said something back, years ago, but so far nobody at Lucasfilm has said it's not happening. Is what it is. After all the other news we've gotten the last couple of years as far as Star Wars, no one's saying it's not happening. So
well, the investor meeting is not about what's not happening. It's about what's coming.
Well, I'm just saying, they didn't. Okay, I totally get it. They announced, Rian Johnson was going to do more Star Wars, and this is before the whole Last Jedi backlash. I totally get it. And you would think, after, again, it's been so many years, they would say, oh, Ryan's no longer doing it or something like that.
I get it. I'm just saying the investor meeting is not the place.
Not this. I'm branching off a bit, okay? I'm just saying.
The investor meeting is, the purpose of it is to say what we are doing coming up, not what we're not.
Okay, but fine. But humor me just for a sec. So at this point, a lot of people think Rian Johnson is not doing any more Star Wars. What do you think?
You know how I felt about The Last Jedi. So
no, that's not my question.
I'd be perfectly happy if he never did more Star Wars.
You don't think, or you don't want him to?
I don't want him to. I don't know what they're going to do. How are you going to predict what they're going to do?
I'm just saying, at this point, it's been years. Nobody said anything against it. So tell me, do you think it's still happening or not?
I don't know. I honestly have no basis for that opinion. I can't possibly
You're no
decide.
fun.
I mean, how would you even make that? How could you even possibly?
Because it's been years since they said anything about it.
Right, so it seems unlikely that he is going to be doing
Okay.
one, but I can't say that I think that they're not. Who knows? Kathleen Kennedy could be working with him in the background about something. Maybe they're just debating about something. Maybe they're not coming to the same terms, but they still have a plan. Like, I don't know.
2022 celebration announcement. Yeah!
Yeah.
It'd be nice though, like when we go to 2022, think about it, we'll probably see, some stuff from Rogue Squadron, probably early development of what
Well, at least have a concept.
Yeah, exactly.
for
We'll probably
it's
know
gonna
what
be.
exactly he's working on there too, so that'd be cool. All right, so that is Star Wars movies. Let's jump on over to the Disney Plus series. Guys, of course, we got to talk about a little man named Obi-Wan Kenobi. Got a little bit more information about this series. It's going to be set 10 years after the events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. Deborah Chow, who has directed several episodes of The Mandalorian, will be directing every episode. And this is going to be a limited series, not like, a full series like Mandalorian and some other things too. And the big announcement was that Hayden Christensen is coming back to play Darth Vader. They didn't say Anakin Skywalker, they said Darth Vader. So, Lisa, what do you take from this announcement?
I have no idea. I'm so confused by what's happening here. I mean, 10 years, it seems like an odd time period. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. There's so much that could have happened. I mean, we don't know anything about what Obi-Wan was doing between Revenge of the Sith, the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then we get snippets of things that happened that we discovered in Rebels. But Rebels is what, 15, 16,
Rebels
17?
is almost right next to A New Hope. Because we saw Obi-Wan in Season 3, which is like a year, maybe a little more from A New Hope. Because
A New Hope takes place, 18 years after?
A New Hope is 19 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, so Ezra was 15 when the show started and Rebels started.
Yeah, so he
15.
was like 17 when he met Obi-Wan.
So 17, 8. So it's still a few years off from A New Hope.
Less than 2.
Okay, anyway. I mean, that's 5 years between... Anyway, 4 or 5 years. Anyway, whatever. We know Obi-Wan... We don't know anything about at all what happened with Obi-Wan between Revenge of the Sith and where he meets with Maul in Rebels, right? There's nothing else in canon that
there's been comics.
Okay, there's been
some
comics.
short stories. Nothing like big, like full on... But there's a couple of like short stories in the comic books that have, he's just doing random things.
Okay. So, I mean, that's a lot of time. We don't know what he was doing. We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you could play with in that time period. I mean, I think it seems unusual to bring Hayden Christensen back if he's going to be playing Darth Vader.
Yeah, and he's just going to be in the suit, right?
Right, like, because if it was going to be in the suit, we're not going to want to hear his voice. We're going to want to hear James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
So, bringing him back as, like, in the Vader suit doesn't really make any sense. Bringing him back as Anakin makes sense because in maybe flashback form, like we were talking about,
like a dream sequences or something
right,
like that.
Maybe some things like that. But yeah, bringing him into the show to have him play Darth Vader seems kind of strange. But and I know we talked about this a little bit the other day too. Everyone taking from that phrase where she said the rematch of the century, and that could have been something that she was supposed to say. It could have been something she kind of just said off the cuff and it was ridiculous. We don't know. We don't know. Maybe they're going to fight. Maybe they're not. Maybe that doesn't mean that they're going to have some big epic battle. Maybe it does. Who knows? She could very well have just said that without thinking, or whoever wrote it maybe was just stupid. I don't know. But, I mean, they could conceivably fight.
Yeah, I mean, people have speculated, too, that, in recent years, that maybe sometime between, their Battle of Mustafar and then meeting up on the Death Star in A New Hope, they might have seen each other since before then. Especially, there were certain lines in the original trilogy that, speculate they could possibly... And that's kind of the nice thing. It's one thing I love. You start off and you had the Star Wars trilogy, okay? And then you got your prequels, which, gave us more depth to the original trilogy and made you look at things a little differently. Then you had the Clone Wars, which made you look at the prequels differently. Then Rebels, books, comics, all this stuff, all adding these depths where there are some fans who will be like, "Oh, I'll never forget this. It was Comic-Con, Chicago Comic-Con 2007, was it? No, it was 2008 because I went with Bryce, and they were doing the Clone Wars panel before the Clone Wars movie came out, and this fan walked up to the microphone and they're like, yes, Anakin never had a Padawan," and the guy from Lucasfilm was like, "You don't know that." It's like, it's like all these little things, those little wiggle rooms, that.
Just because we don't know that it happened, that it happened, doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
There's no line in the original trilogy that says Kenobi and Vader never saw each other in that 19-year time period. Is what it is. So again, it just adds if they make something up where they saw each other again, and then you go back and watch A New Hope and see them meet up again, it's going to add that different level. Much like you go and watch Rogue One. And then you watch A New Hope immediately after.
Oh, for sure. Adds a whole different perspective to what's
exactly,
happening.
Yeah. So I love how, every piece they put into the Star Wars, galaxy franchise just gives you more and more depth to the characters in the story, which I enjoy. So I had a thought yesterday in regards to them possibly meeting up, okay? So Kenobi goes, he takes Luke to Tatooine to hide him, okay? In the I know in the comics at least, Vader is still very much wanting to find Kenobi because he obviously hates his guts and wants to see him dead and all that other stuff. So if you're being hunted by the two, most evil, powerful men in the galaxy, but you're trying to hide a child, wouldn't it be a good idea to not be around the child then if you're being hunted? So again, my theory is that maybe at least in the first 10 years or whatever,
he just pitched him off and left.
And then he comes back again after maybe a meeting with Vader or something like that
to protect Luke.
Yeah, and Owen's like, "You've been gone for 10 years. What are you doing?" That's why Owen maybe has harsher feelings towards him. Yeah. So maybe he's been off in the galaxy doing whatever, and then he shows up, and Owen's like, "No," and after another meeting with Vader, Obi-Wan's like, "Okay, I think Luke is the chosen one. I have to protect him." Something like that.
I mean, it would make sense to me also that considering Obi-Wan's position within the Jedi and his compassion, some of the Jedi, especially in the council, I wouldn't consider Mace Windu to be overly compassionate.
Not at all.
Right. Like some of those Jedi didn't really seem to demonstrate lots of compassion. I mean, I know that it's part of their whatever, but I think Obi-Wan was a very compassionate person. He genuinely cared a lot about
people.
About people in general, right? So it seems to me that after what happened with Order 66, that he would want to find any Jedi that were left.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that he certainly wouldn't just go hide in a hole. I think he would go hide for a little while until the dust cleared, kind of. But I would totally expect him to be the kind of person that would get back out there,
take action,
and try to find these Jedi, especially once he heard or discovered that the Emperor and Vader had Inquisitors out there looking for the Jedi, that he would try to also see if he could find anybody to help them.
Yeah.
So I think it totally makes sense that he would have other kind of adventures.
And I would love for him to run into some Inquisitors.
I think that'd be great.
Oh, that would be awesome. He's out trying to find Jedi, and the Inquisitors are trying to find Jedi as well. So the chances that they clash would be
and especially since if the Inquisitors were out looking for Force-sensitive children, which, we discover a lot of that in, the Ahsoka book and things like that, that's part of what they're doing. I mean, we discover some of that in Rebels. Too. That's one of the things that they're doing is also looking for Force-sensitive children. Obi-Wan might also be wanting to try to protect any Force-sensitive children that are out there, too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibilities, honestly, with this.
But they're only doing one limited series, so it's we have all these ideas, it's going to be this tiny little thing.
I have no doubt it's going to be more than a limited series. I mean, there's so much to tell in that time period, especially with this beloved character.
And Ewan McGregor, everybody loves Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan.
Oh, of course.
So good.
It was, a lot of said, even people who don't like the prequels will give Ewan McGregor's portrayal of Obi-Wan as the bright spot in all of it, too.
He certainly was.
All right, before we move on, I have another Kenobi thought, okay?
Okay.
In regards to A New Hope. So, say they meet up and, he tries to reason with him. Going back to Rebels, Ahsoka and Darth Vader meet up and, she cuts him and he has that moment where he's like, Ahsoka, where it seems like it's Anakin. Like maybe she got through that actual armor to who Anakin actually was, okay? Just for a minute or a second or whatever, got to that. And maybe Obi-Wan does something similar where, there is maybe good still in him, but he can't reach it. Jump to A New Hope and Obi-Wan's sacrifice, okay? Where he looks at Vader and then he looks at Luke, or vice versa. I can't remember which one he looked at first. But he's like, hey, I couldn't reach him. I couldn't find my brother that is inside there that I still love and care about. I couldn't do it. But maybe his son can reach him. What he does, like the double nod, and then he's like, I have to do this, And I just a thought, just something, that I was thinking about that. Yeah, maybe like, maybe there was a little bit of good in him, like the line in Return of the Jedi says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, and he said I can't reach him, but maybe his son can. So. Just a thought. So anyway, Obi-Wan, they're just started filming. No, they're going to start filming on, I think, this next month, I believe is what it is. So that's going to come into there. And we'll see what part, Mr. Christensen plays in all of it. Jumping over, of course, sticking with the Disney Plus series, we got announcements of 2 spin-offs in regards to The Mandalorian. The first one being Miss Tano, Ahsoka. Rosario Dawson is coming back to continue her portrayal of Ahsoka Tano, spinning off of the episode of Mandalorian that we have talked about on this show. Lisa, take it away.
I don't know. I mean, we don't know anything about it.
Well, and here's what I'm thinking is,
I'm excited.
The Mandalorian episode came up. And we all assumed, for you and I and other Star Wars fans, where does this fall? Is this before or after the epilogue of Rebels, right?
Right, which everybody assumed
it was after.
That it was after, but then
Filoni came out.
Filoni's all like, well, maybe
it does. Exactly.
So I would imagine because he made that statement that this is going to take place before. So maybe it's her trying to find... Or no, I don't know. It's her, whatever she's doing when the rebels are doing their stuff.
I don't know. For me, it's like, okay, I don't want this. I of course, I have my in my head kind of set up as far as a season 1 would be like, because I still want to know. I think a big question is where was she during the original trilogy, right? And I've always had this theory myself that when she jumped out of the world between worlds in Rebels and went deeper into the Sith cave or Sith temple, excuse me, that maybe she didn't jump back at the minute after her fight with Vader. Maybe when she jumped back, more time had passed, and maybe it was after the events of the original trilogy, perhaps. Just a thought. Just trying to explain why she wasn't there. Is what it is.
I'm sure she was just doing other stuff.
Other stuff than trying to save the galaxy?
I mean, I'm sure there was other stuff required to save the galaxy besides that one thing. You don't think that there was other stuff happening?
Which, by the way, we don't. There's still Inquisitors around. I know obviously some Inquisitors died off, but I don't think we've gotten to where all of them have died. Maybe she's taking care of them.
I mean, there's any number of things she could be doing.
Anyway, but again, that's what I want. I want an explanation of where she was, and I would love to see again the moment she jumps out of the world between worlds, goes into the temple, and kind of deals with her own personal demons a little bit. Let's kind of deal with that a little bit. Find out where she was during the original trilogy, and maybe say at the end of season 1 we get a live action version of that epilogue, perhaps, and bring in Sabine.
I mean, I have heard other people talking about how they think maybe Sabine will show up in this, or it would depend on where it falls in the timeline.
Of course, but again, too, you bring in Sabine, that's a Mandalorian, which of course would tie into Mandalore.
Well, and they've already said that there's going to be
cross.
Was it Ahsoka and the Rangers one?
Yeah, they're the ones, the Rangers of the New Republic. Yeah,
that there will be a crossover event of some sort.
They're creating, their own personal little,
shared universe.
Yeah. Well,
it is. All of it. Star Wars is the shared universe.
Sure, of course. That is true. But these are, solely run by Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. So it's the two of them now going to take on 3 shows. So speaking of Rangers of the New Republic. A lot of people speculate this is going to have something to do with the latest episode of The Mandalorian. Spoiler if you haven't seen the latest episode, where, we're going to have, what's Bill Burr's character? I forget what his name is.
Mayweather?
Yeah, Mayweather. And,
is it Mayweather? It's May something.
And, of course, Cara Dune and Fennec, what was her name? Ming-Na's character.
Yeah, Fennec.
Possibly.
Isn't it Fennec?
Fennec, Ferric, something like
that.
Ferric, that's what it is. Okay.
It's Ferric.
And then maybe, basically everyone except for Mando, maybe forming these Rangers of the New Republic. I can see something like that with that gang, really, is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're supposed to assume, that it's going to be Cara Dune and, basically that crew minus Mando.
But didn't that really feed into the theory we had, watching season 2, and we're like, oh, this just feels like they're just setting up spin-offs.
And they were 100% setting up spin-offs. I mean, it was so obvious that's what they were doing. There was no way that you go from a season 1 that has all new characters, and then all of a sudden season 2 starts and you're like, here's someone you know, here's someone you know, here's someone you know, you get a car, you get a car. I was like, yeah, you get a show, you get a show.
Right, exactly.
It was so obvious that's what they were doing, especially since they brought in Ahsoka just for that one show, and then she was gone. Sure, she's gonna get a spin-off.
Where's the frog couple show then? Come on, I want to see those little tadpoles grow up.
Oh yeah?
No, not really.
Yeah, I didn't figure.
But anyway, so you got those 2 shows coming out of the The Mandalorian, run by 2 guys, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who definitely know what they're doing in regards to, Star Wars. So we'll wait and see. Of course, I'm more excited for Ahsoka than I am Rangers of the New Republic.
I mean, I don't think that the girl who does Cara Dune is that good of an actress.
No,
I mean,
she's not.
All right.
And that we talked about that too with our friend JR. We're like, she's not that good of an actress, but if you put her in an ensemble like this,
yeah, it works.
She doesn't have to carry the show all by herself.
Right. I mean, so I think for her most likely being essentially the lead since she's the Ranger, I mean, and I don't know. I that's the only thing that worries me is that she's not a very good actress. I mean, she may become. I'm
better,
sure
yeah.
over the years she will, but right now she's definitely mediocre.
Yeah.
When it comes to the acting.
I wouldn't even call her mediocre.
Yeah, I mean, she's better than John Cena was when he started, or what's the guy who
I don't know.
When it is Drax.
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista. I mean, she's better than they were when they started, but marginally.
I mean, honestly, I would watch this show after the latest episode of The Mandalorian. I want to know more about Mayfeld.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know where he goes and what he does.
When he talked about the past with, him being an Imperial and, where he was there. What was that operation called?
Cinder,
yeah, where he was a part of that and stuff like that. I think this latest episode just turned him into a much more interesting character compared to what we saw in season 1. So I want to learn more about that. So I hope he's part of the show too.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
All right, guys. Disney Plus, of course, we're getting Andor.
I'm excited for this one.
Diego Luna is coming back to play Cassian Andor, who he played in Rogue One, of course. So with that, and they're still working on it, of course. Basically talking about it's going to be like a spy kind of thriller. Tony Gilroy is going to be the showrunner. Several of the people have been cast, and production's going to be kicking off soon. So you're excited for this one, huh?
I am very excited for this one. I really like Cassian and K2SO. So.
Well, and when they did the little special behind the scenes thing too, Diego Luna's talking about it's the building of a revolution, kind of like Rebels was about, the formation, or at least how the Rebel Alliance got started. I think it's going to continue with that. Of course, they announced the actress who played Mon Mothma in Rogue One and Revenge of the Sith and voiced her in Rebels is going to return as Mon Mothma as well. I'd love to see me some Jimmy Smits back as Bail Organa. Cool. There are several other people, of course, around that time period that you could definitely throw in there. So, and again, I think Cassian, is an interesting character because, as we saw in Rogue One, he's a guy who, he's on the right side. He's part of the rebels. He's fighting the good fight, but he does a lot of bad things in the name of it, So questionable things, exactly.
But that's exactly kind of plays into what
it's war,
Well, it plays into what Mayfeld was just saying in the last episode of Mandalorian. Just because you do bad things doesn't make you a bad person. It depends on the reason why you're doing them sometimes,
exactly.
Especially in this type of environment.
Yeah, so that's underway. I don't know. I'm imagining that's probably going to be the next series we'll get. I'm sure we'll find out more later on. This one's going into production only a little bit before Obi-Wan. I mean, obviously, I want Obi-Wan first, but
they're already filming this one.
Yeah, they're already filming this one, and then I think Obi-Wan starts this month or next month. So not too bad. Either way, I think within the next year or so, we're gonna get 3 series coming out. Is what it is. What ended up with say the Marvel Netflix shows is you started off having 2 every year, and then they had 3 every year, and it's kind of built from there. So. All right, so moving on. Next show I want to talk about is Lando. So apparently they're developing a Lando event, not a series, just a brand new event is what they're calling it. Justin Simeon, creator of the critically acclaimed Dear White People and a huge Star Wars fan, is developing the story. Not a lot is known about it. We don't even... They
didn't say anything at all.
I mean,
they didn't even say... But, these are all live action, right?
Yeah. So before they, did the presentation... at the very beginning of the Disney presentation, they said, we got about 10 new Star Wars and 10 new Marvel projects coming in the next couple of years. So everyone on Twitter exploded about that before they actually got to the actual studio presentations. So I hopped online and I did just a little quick what could they be? What could they be? And one of my guesses was a Lando series. I say that because, in the Solo film... I thought, Alden Ehrenreich did a good job.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I thought they could have done a number of things, from that film to do their own. But the one person I don't think because of the failure, I guess, in that film, that you knew they weren't going to do a Han Solo series. But a Lando series, I think, would still be up for grabs. Plus, if it is after the events of Solo, Alden Ehrenreich could easily come in and do some guest stars.
Yeah, for sure.
That could definitely be something. And, I think that's a possibility. A part of me, of course, I'm sure part of you as well, wants to see it before Solo because we want L3 in there.
I would like it.
But, because I'm very curious to see, who's he? It can't be just him. He's got to have people around him, like any character in any series, So he's got to have a crew that he travels with. So
yeah, and L3 was such an interesting droid.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like going back to before that, while he still had the Falcon, so then we get a little bit, because the Falcon can be a character in and of itself.
Yep.
So if we go to before the events of Solo, when he has the Falcon still, and I think that would be an interesting.
It's a far away, but I'm excited because I loved Donald Glover's portrayal of the character, and one of the things I walked out of the film wanting to see more of. So
I agree.
That's fine. All right.
Now we move into animation.
Animated is The Bad Batch coming out of the Clone Wars. Now we saw these guys in season 7 of the Clone Wars. Of course, they are the ragtag group of clone troopers. And they each have kind of a singular, exceptional skill that makes them badass, what you would say.
Well, I think don't they explain it that they were like defects.
Yeah,
almost.
they were defects.
Yeah, they were like defective in the cloning process. These people were defective, but each of their defects allowed them to have some kind of an extra capability. Yeah. And so they use them in this.
Yes. So this
other
one,
thing.
We got, of course, a little sizzle reel about it, and we know it's taking place post Clone Wars, which is post Revenge of the Sith, and we'll see them doing daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. Quote the StarWars.com article. So again, I wasn't a huge fan of the Bad Batch episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I liked them. I didn't dislike them, but they didn't leave me wanting more.
Again, it goes into the what we like about Star Wars is the Jedi, the Force, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not what this is.
Right, and I like the clones in their relationship with the
Jedi.
The Jedi, right?
Exactly.
Like I love, Rex and his interactions with Ahsoka and with Anakin, and then you look at Cody with Obi-Wan. Like I liked how they interacted with, but there were some episodes in the Clone Wars that were just the clones that I really liked, but they still involved Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the one where like Rex and his team go with that other Jedi who ends up being bad.
Yes.
The guy with all the arms.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but like that was a cool episode. It was primarily the clones, but it was still cool. But yeah, the Bad Batch. I mean, I think it'll end up being really good. I know there's a lot of people who really loved the Bad Batch and are excited for this. So,
like I say, for me, it's about following these guys after the events of the Revenge of the Sith and kind of seeing the changes in the galaxy and how they do things. I mean, if they are still working for the newly formed Empire, former Republic, they're still doing missions, do they do things the same way? I mean, are they supervised? At one point do they realize, hey, this isn't the same, people we're used to working for, this isn't the right thing to do, all these questions that could come up. And again, like I said, in a grander sense, I want to see, what happens to the clones on a micro level. I mean, a broad level, we know they allegedly got phased out. But what does that mean? Do they just, they get fired, or they just grow old and die? Or, do some of them say, hey, we don't like the Empire, so we're out, or whatever, So that's what I want to see. I think, for me, that's what I want to see about this series is what happens to these thousands, if not millions of clones after Order 66. The whole reason they were made is done.
Yeah.
What does the Emperor do, So... All right, next up, guys, Star Wars. We have Star Wars Visions. So this is kind of something a little different, and it's going to be Star Wars stories told from kind of an anime perspective. The anthology collection will bring 10 fantastic visions from several of the leading Japanese anime studios, offering a fresh and diverse cultural perspective to Star Wars. So they're taking Star Wars stories, but putting them in kind of like, a Japanese animated way. So, it's not necessarily it's going to be an anime Star Wars. It's going to be taking, the Star Wars stories and, adapting them to Japanese culture. I mean, you could have,
You think it's going to be stories that already exist, not going to be new stories?
I don't think it's going to be new stories. I think it's going to be like, we're going to see, instead of, you're going to go back to ancient Japan, and what if Star Wars was told in ancient Japan,
You think so?
I think so. That from what the pictures they saw looked like it wasn't anything futuristic. But yeah, taking the basic story and characters development or meaning of what Star Wars is at its core, and then just putting them in a different setting. I mean, of course, you could always go back to where George Lucas always said, a lot of his inspiration for Star Wars not only came from Flash Gordon, but also, Seven Samurai and stuff like that. So even the Jedi, are very much, in kind of samurai beliefs is what George Lucas encoded in them too. So it makes sense. And again, telling the stories of Star Wars in a different setting, I think could be interesting. Not completely loving the idea, it's not like getting me excited like Ahsoka or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's Star Wars. I'll check it out.
It just seems to me like kind of a waste of time to do this if you're not going to do a new story. Like that just seems kind of wasteful.
I think they're trying to, I would say from what I first read about this is that they're trying to make Star Wars bigger overseas, like in Japan.
I get it.
But again,
so
like
just do a new story.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Why rehash something that you already have in a different animation style? Why not just do a new story with this animation style?
I don't know.
I mean, that's why I think that doesn't make any. It just seems wasteful to me.
I think maybe they're trying to slip it in the back door and be like, here's something you're familiar with a Star Wars story. Oh, you like this? Well, here's actual Star Wars.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that just seems wasteful. I mean, maybe that's what they're going to do, but I just think that seems wasteful.
All right. Well, We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Like I said, we didn't know a lot. The picture they showed looked like it was going to be actual, like, ancient Japan and stuff like that.
No, I agree. I do believe it's going to be 100% anime style. I think it's going to be new stories also. I don't think that they're going to just take, like, the events of A New Hope and draw them anime style. Like, you know what I mean? Like, put the Death Star over Japan. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think there's going to be any Death Star.
No, I'm not. I'm just using that as a fucking example. I don't mean actually the Death Star. I'm just saying I don't think that they're going to take stories that have already happened in the Star Wars universe and rewrite them and redraw them in anime style. I think that they're going to do new stories in the Star Wars universe in anime style, possibly using existing characters. I don't think it's going to be all 100% new, but I don't think it's going to be same stories. I think that just seems silly to do that. I mean, maybe that's what they're doing, but I think that seems silly.
All right.
It seems like a huge waste for these people's talents to just rehash a story that's already been done.
But in a fresh, different way.
Yeah, but that would be like taking the movie and then redoing it in animation. That's silly. It's a waste of time.
Because Hollywood's never done that before. Okay, we're going to move on here because she gave me the look. All right. Other thing coming out that's going to be a little different, a droid story. So this is from Lucas Animation, going to be teaming up with the Lucasfilm visual effects team, Industrial Light and Magic, to, quote, develop a special Star Wars adventure for Disney+. This epic journey will introduce us to a new hero guided by legendary duo R2-D2 and C-3PO. Just when you thought Anthony Daniels was done with Star Wars, lo and behold, they're definitely going to bring him back for some voice acting, no doubt about this. Now, in the presentation, it seemed like it was going to be like a new droid that is going to be ushered in by R2 and C-3PO. But this says just a new hero. Do you think it's going to be droid or non-droid?
I think it'll be a droid.
I think so. Considering, like I said, it's a droid.
Droids are also heroes.
It's a droid story, so
Don't be implying that droids can't be heroes.
Oh no, doubt. I mean, R2-D2 is the biggest hero in the entire Star Wars saga, of course. I mean, he saves everybody's ass.
Yeah, so droids can totally be heroes.
Exactly. So just from the description of this said it wasn't a droid, but I think the presentation said it was probably going to be a droid. So again, something I'm not super excited about it.
Kids are going to love this.
Kids are going to love it. We'll see if Nora watches it. I doubt it, but it's Star Wars, so we'll check it out. All right, and we're on to the last thing, guys, which I might have skipped. Hold on, where's it at? Or maybe I don't have it at all. Okay, The Acolyte is the last thing. I don't have a panel for it, so we'll just talk about it. So this is coming from Leslie Headland, who gave us the show Russian Doll. I've never seen it. I heard it's really good. But she's going to do a new Disney Plus series called The Acolyte, quote, a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. So,
I think this sounds awesome.
I think it sounds awesome on two levels. One, High Republic, we're just about to dive into that in as far as the expanded universe with the books and the comics. They're just about to roll out that whole presentation, what do you want to call it, whatever, next month, starting with the book by Charles Soule. So they're going really into that. So we're going to get an idea of what the High Republic is, and by the time this comes out, I'm sure Star Wars fans are going to know what the era is like. Where this comes in is, like I said, it's going to be shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers. I think it's going to be not the heroes or the Jedi. It's going to be on the opposite side. Mm-hmm. Almost like someone almost speculated, kind of like a Ventress type character, maybe.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this show.
Yeah, exactly. I like the setting. I like kind of where they're going to go with that. Of course, I think there's a lot you could play with. Bad guys are always so fun to play with. The dark side, there's a lot of levels there.
Yeah.
So it's something you can do a lot with. So.
I think this of all the shows might be one of the ones I'm most excited about.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you. So which one? Give me your top three.
I don't know. I'm really excited for that one. I'm really excited for the Cassian, for the Andor show. I'm excited for Obi-Wan. I'm excited for the Ahsoka. I'm excited for a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the only ones I'm really not all that excited about are Bad Batch and the Rangers one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I'm going to like the Rangers one because it's going to play into
Mandalorian. It's Filoni and Favreau too, so
But,
yeah, I mean, of course, like I said before, you got a nice mixture of a lot of different perspectives as far as, if you don't like Jedi, then here's this Rangers show. If you don't like Rangers, here's this spy thriller in Cassian Andor. Here's something for the kids with droid stories. A little variety, and, trying to give everybody something, no matter what you like about Star Wars, or if you don't like Star Wars, maybe grasping onto something to bring you into the franchise. And that's what I see with all of this as well too, it seems pretty cool. But for me, of course, Obi-Wan's going to be our most excited, most anticipated one. Ahsoka looks cool. Andor, I mean, those are the ones that I'm really more interested than others. But in any event, the future of Star Wars looks like there's a lot coming, of course, and no doubt there's some questions, I think, too, about, especially after episode 9, about the future of Star Wars and what because right now it's all about Mandalorian. Mandalorian was what hot, it's what everyone's liking. So you go into a Target, you see Baby Yoda everywhere, is what it is, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to maybe diversify and get more Star Wars in there, so that the franchise can live on and on. So cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for us today. Time for you to fire back on the social media groups or dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of the Star Wars Lucasfilm presentation. What are you excited about? What are you not excited about? What are your theories? Send them to me, not to Lisa. She doesn't want to hear them, of course. I'll be glad to discuss them with you. No doubt about that. So that is it, guys. Go out, enjoy your day, enjoy your life. And until next time, may the Force be with us all.